Mr. Chairman, welcome back to our program. Let's start with the economy here. Manufacturing is slowing down. The jobs numbers were revised recently. Unemployment now at 4.3%. Novo Nordisk, the latest big company, to say is laying off 9,000 or so workers just hours before this interview. But my question is, what do you tell small businesses that are worried about a weakening economy right now?
Well, frankly, Jason, small businesses, I traveled around the country, has got a great attitude, actually. I mean, they're really, the bill that we passed a couple weeks ago has helped them a lot. There's always some concerns with small business because they're risk takers and they don't have a lot of capital, and access to capital is an issue. But what I tell them is I think that we're poised to have a great economy through the end of the year, and after that, I think the last component we need is a rate cut, and I think we'll see that in September and maybe another one in December. But you couple rate cuts with tax cuts and less regulations and 100% expensing, the things we put in the latest bill we passed, is good news for small business. And frankly, a small business is ready to hire people, jobs are there. So I think, even though some of the numbers we've seen, I do think from a drill it down to a local standpoint, business is good and it's going to get better.
Are you concerned about those numbers you've seen lately here? I mean, the latest BLS numbers were surprising to me.
Yeah. Well, nobody likes to take a step backwards, but I believe the economy's good. Like, I've been in business, as you know, 57 years. I've seen everything from 0% to 20% interest. I've seen a lot of ups and downs. The basis is there to build this economy. You know, if small businesses can get capital from banks, and community banks have been really rescued by the bill that we just passed a couple weeks ago. If they can get money from community banks so they can take some risk, they're going to get reward in this economy. So I feel good about it, but it's not perfect. We need to address it, and we need to make it consumer friendly. We need to make it Main Street friendly, and things will happen.
Let's talk about one of the committee projects, is the Save the SBA from Sanctuary Cities Act, Small Business Administration. And it requires, part of it requires the SBA to remove offices from sanctuary cities like Atlanta, Boston, Chicago, Denver, New York, and even Seattle. I'm curious, so what does this mean to the small businesses in those cities that rely on the SBA for kickstart loans and just to help them sustain business?
Well, that's a great question. We're not moving SBA out of there, in many cases, their state. We're just moving out of a city that's a sanctuary city. It's a safety factor, main thing for our employees there with the SBA. And also, quite frankly, you got people trying to borrow money the right way, and you got people trying to loan money the wrong way by these sanctuary cities not working with the federal government. So but it's main thing to get people in a more safe environment. We're going to be able to give good service to the customer better than what they've had. And I'm in the car business, been for a long time. I understand what good service requires, what it takes, and we're going to deliver that with the SBA and the small business.
I want to ask about the Made in America Manufacturing Finance Act. A lot of words there that you introduced back in May. Tell me what this would do for small businesses.
Well, what it does, it gives the small business an opportunity to get product and maybe achieve inventories and hire more people and so forth. And when you have inventories, you get discounting, and that drives costs down. So I think it's a good deal. Main Street likes it, and again, it opens up for Main Street to do business. Jason, 75% of our workforce, 75% of our payroll in America is generated by small businesses, like all the ones we know and people we know around our communities. So we turn that loose, the economy begins to get really good and really strong.
Let's talk about the big elephant in the room here for a moment. That's the tariffs. How do you think President Trump's tariffs have impacted small businesses, especially in Texas?
Well, that's a great question, and you're talking to a car dealer, remember that, okay?
Sure.
Cars and tariffs, so I have firsthand knowledge of what it is, and quite frankly, I'm not afraid of tariffs, I'm aware of tariffs, but I think that they're beginning to settle down. He's actually used the tariffs as a pretty good wedge point to get people to do business with us. There's no reason, Jason, that America should have the largest economy in the world and be paying list price wherever we go, and I think we're getting that fixed. But I will tell you, one thing a lot of people aren't talking about in association with tariffs, we need interest rates cut, because if you have an interest rate cut, you'll save some money, and it could very well cover the cost of a tariff increase if what you're buying has a tariff on it. I mean, it'll create more discounts for people to offer more businesses and so forth. So we actually could have costs flatten out if we get an interest rate cut that coincides with a tariff increase.
The U.S. Supreme Court is considering whether President Trump can even enact tariffs here. The case was, at least one of these cases, was filed by five small businesses. What do you make of that? And if tariffs are refunded, what do you think businesses would benefit from?
Well, I don't know. Everybody's saying, is this legal or not illegal? I think it'd be really hard to refund tariffs. I don't know if I'd be for that because we know you've seen maybe a later number than I have, but we've had about $150 billion in tariff income come into the government. That's like an other income to a small business. So I don't know if we need to be giving that away or if he even has to do it. I mean, I think it's legitimate to charge retail if we're going to pay retail. So again, I get back to the economy. I've seen many economies through my 57 years. This economy is waiting for a we got the tax cuts, made them permanent. It's also waiting for an interest rate cut, which is legitimate, and let the economy take off and grow.
You've been in the car business a long time. I just saw information from the state comptroller that says year to year, August 25 to August 24, car sales are down 9% here in the state, which is kind of a harbinger of which way the economy might be going. What do you make of that?
Well, the economy, you're exactly right. The car industry is a good barometer. And let me tell you, Jason, we have people want to buy cars. I mean, there's no lack of wanting to buy. The problem is the cost of goods sold. That's no problem. Except, the manufacturers, they just put more costs in this stuff, and the cost of goods sold is getting higher and higher. That's why, again, an interest rate cut would do a lot of wonders, frankly, for my industry, where people can buy more for less. People are payment buyers. They want to be able to budget the right number for a vehicle. They want to buy the vehicle. So interest rate cuts are important, and the manufacturer in our business is going to have to take control of that. We're going to start seeing 0% again. We're going to start seeing lower interest rates to move the economy along.
But aren't tariffs offsetting any interest rate cuts that might be coming?
Well, they could. Although I got to tell you, I don't have a tariff vehicle on my lot right now, so I don't know. A lot of the tariffs have been absorbed by the manufacturer, but I would tell you, if you have a tariff car and you can't sell because it's priced too high, what we do in our business is, we discount the vehicle. The manufacturer comes with a rebate. You get a cut in the interest rates, and the used car market is going up, so you got more value in your used car, and pretty soon you bought a tariff car for less you did without a tariff.
Hmm. Let's talk crime for a moment. I've seen you talking a lot about that. You say that Main Street needs safety and security in order to be successful. Nobody would argue with that. But as we're watching these, talk of National Guard going to Chicago, we've seen them in Washington D.C. Would you support seeing National Guard in Arlington or in Fort Worth, anywhere in your district?
Well, fortunately, we live in the great state of Texas, and we don't have the issues they got in Chicago and some of these other cities. I mean, we've always supported law enforcement in Texas.
Sure.
We've always, I mean, law enforcement does a great job in Texas. But some of these other places you mentioned, they haven't supported law enforcement. They've cut law enforcement back. They haven't given them the tools they need to fight the crime. And if they're not going to do that, the National Guard, I have no problem with the National Guard going in. They've done a really good job. But we got to defend our cities. We got to get the American way of life back together again. We got to tell these criminals that you can't commit crime in America and get away with it. You merely look around. So in Texas, I'm not so worried about Texas. I think all states should be like Texas. But these states that can't control themselves, like Chicago, I mean, when you have a mayor stand up there and said, "Well, we only had 57 of this, 57 of that," are you kidding me? Is that murders? Is that all you put in the quality of life? I mean, it gets to be a heck of an argument to have. But I think if the National Guard's called in, a lot of the cities too, Jason, want the National Guard presence. And even Mayor Bowser up here in Washington, D.C. says that what President Trump has done good for Washington, bringing the National Guard in. So I think it's on an individual basis. But when you look at Chicago and some of these other communities, uh, people need to be protected. People need to be safe. It needs to be America again and not criminal activity everywhere.
Yeah, I don't think you can compare Chicago and Washington D.C. to crime at Fort Worth or Arlington or
Right.
anywhere in Texas. But eh, would you ever support National Guard troops in Texas if if the president decided to deploy them here?
Well, if we had a situation that was like Chicago and Texans were killing Texans and people were just out of their mind on the way they were acting and stores being broken in and small businesses being hampered and having to close. I mean, those kind of things we don't have in Texas. But if it did get that way, I'd certainly want some support and some help in getting it back to the way it should be in the environment I live in. And so I would support that. But I don't think we have to worry about Texas, frankly.
Let me ask about the World Cup. Big news coming to your district. You represent the AT&T Stadium where the Dallas Cowboys play, and where the 9 World Cup games are going to be. There'll be a lot of international travelers there as well. I presume you plan to attend. How big of a deal do you think this will be for small businesses all around the area?
Well, it's gonna be a huge deal, probably bigger than I can imagine right now because I'm still learning about it, still seeing all the opportunities we got. But businesses are going around there. It's just going to be phenomenal. And when businesses grow like that, they also create tier one, tier two, tier three businesses that will uh, come around and be successful. So it's going to be an exciting time to showcase the Metroplex and the Dallas Fort Worth area. And frankly, to a sport that I'm not that familiar with, I'm still used to hitting the ball with a bat. But I'm anxious to learn more about it. But we're going to host it. It's in our district, and we're going to do some great things, have some fun. And what great timing for our Metroplex to be able to get these people to come in and see what we're all about. We got the greatest state in America, and we want people to come in here and realize no personal income tax, a lot of fun. We don't have the National Guard walking the streets, so come on and be a Texan.
Anything else you'd like to add, sir, that we haven't touched on?
No, I just think we're fortunate we live in really the greatest place in America and great things. And you guys do a great job in talking about it, allowing people like myself to talk about it. And I just think we got great days ahead. I'm excited to be a part of it.
Mr. Chairman, good to see you. Thank you for the time.
Thank you, Jason.